Hi, Abby. I hope you are having a great weekend. I just wanted to check in with you about the revisions that you made to your two narrative pieces. Um, I want to tell you know that I see the changes and the revisions that you made, and I think that they worked really well. So when I went and I reread them, I think they worked really well for your pieces, and I hope that you did too. So let's dive into this week. So this week I kind of wanted to focus on two goals. One is using descriptive language. So we had talked about this before. You made some great changes that I'm going to highlight that I think worked really well for me when I was reading. And I just wanted to point out one other spot where I think it would be really helpful to use some extra descriptive language. And then I also wanted to just talk a little bit about transition words and how those can help the reader to kind of keep track while they're reading. And it kind of checks them back in if you are using some of those words. So those are kind of the goals for today. And then I'll send you the links for those. And we can also look at hopefully setting up a time. Maybe I'll just send you an email about a time maybe to do like a Google Meet or a Zoom at a live session. So first I wanted to talk to you quick about resolving comments on Google. So when I put these comments here, let me scroll over, there we go. Each one, so these ones were from the 4th, so you can, like today's the 11th. So if you wanted to, you can go through, well, I would recommend when you go through, if you kind of are like, oh, well, that one's a little different. This one you said, oh, okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's helpful to me, I know this. Or if it was something that needed to be resolved or you wanted to resolve, you can click this right here, this check mark, and it marks it as resolved. And then it kind of puts the comment away. So then you don't have to worry about that. Just because over the times where we're revising these, my new comments will show up, and I don't want it to be like too overwhelming for you. So if you want to resolve those after you like complete it or after you take a look at it, that's totally up to you. I'm going to resolve them on this first copy, so you can kind of see that being done a few more times. So this one's from the 4th. Okay, that one's from today, the 4th, and the 4th again. So yeah, so once those are gone, you kind of can see these new ones again, and it helps kind of to break it down each week. So that's just something I wanted to highlight quick. We talked about our goals, so now I'm just gonna kind of go through your piece and point out where the revisions you made. I think they worked really well for both pieces. As the reader, it really helped me to better engage with the piece, and overall I think it did add to your story. So your first one, your kind of major revisions happened in this first paper. I think it was awesome to have 2 journal entries or 2 diary entries instead of just one. I think it adds a little bit extra to the piece, and it kind of brings it back to this is something she's still doing even though she's been here for so long. And so as a reader, I really appreciate that kind of switch. And right here, you made it very clear that you were going back in time, back to that first entry. And so I'm very grateful that you had that sentence in there to make sure that I knew, okay, this was the first one, this is now, but she's going to go back and she's going to talk about it. As a reader, that was something that really helped me. Right here, I wanted to just point out awesome alliteration. When I was reading it out loud, I was like, traces of scarlet sunlight. And that was, I think, a really helpful benefit, a really helpful revision that you made by using some of that descriptive language to really describe the sunlight and peek through the cracks of the shack. There's a little like rhyme in there too. The heater's a little loud, sorry. So I think that worked really well for you in the beginning, in the opening kind of part here. This comment right here, this was something we talked about, maybe going a little deeper into the character's thoughts, and the revisions that you made doing that helped me a lot as the reader. So I was able to kind of start building my thoughts and my representation of who Gabby is as a character, how she reacted to a situation, how she's going back and she's kind of now doubting herself. That really helps me as the reader build my characterization concept of Gabby. And then this was your new kind of some old stuff. I think it works really well here. I wanted to point out this sentence that you included helped me as the reader. I automatically am connecting that to Cinderella and every adaptation of Cinderella that I've ever seen. My friends who have stepmothers who they say are evil. And I think that helped me automatically and immediately build my understanding of her mother and how the situation ends up unfolding. I have all that background knowledge on it, and those connections really helped me understand who the mother is as a character in this story, and kind of how Gabby sees her mother is so different from her father. And so those were some really good techniques, I think, that you used to help build the characterization of even side characters. You're making sure that the reader's really understanding who they are as well. I think that this was very descriptive. I enjoyed having like what her mother said, and because I had that characterization, how I read that in my head as a reader was very different than how I'm thinking of the mom from your first draft. And so I think that those revisions were really helpful for me there. Again, awesome alliteration. It just, as the reader, just kind of makes you happy, and it helps you paint this picture, and the alliteration just kind of ties that all together. So I did tell you one of the goals that I wanted to talk about was descriptive language. And so right here you say, well, let me go the whole thing. The beautiful color of our planet was gone. I felt the beautiful colors inside of me draining away as I stared at the dead planet. So over here I kind of pointed out, did you choose to repeat this phrase? If you did, that's great. Repetition is another tool that you can use. If you didn't, because either way, I just thought we could explore what were some of those beautiful colors that you could be talking about. And I thought this would be a good time to kind of show you what I do when I'm writing. So every time that I'm writing a paper or anything, I come to thesaurus.com. And it also has dictionary.com if you don't know a word. And it's very quick and very easy. So I go to thesaurus.com and I type in the word, and I just look through some words. And every once in a while, one will pop out to me. Sometimes they don't. One that wasn't on this list that I thought for beautiful was vibrant, because you're talking about those colors. And so I think that was super helpful for me every time that I write. Every time that I've written in college, in high school, this was something I started in high school. I always have it up as a separate tab, and the second I'm like, I just can't come up with a word that I like, I will go over there, I'll type it in, I'll type in some other synonyms, and I'll just kind of link it up until I find a word that I think really fits what I'm trying to say. And so I just wanted to point out that that's a tactic that's worked really well for me. So when I was brainstorming, what could we think about other than beautiful colors? You could list the colors. So that's another really interesting strategy. It's called naming names. And so instead of saying colors, what colors do you mean? What are the colors of Earth? And there's a lot of those, obviously. So you don't necessarily have to name them all. But for example, to name a name, instead of writing the word like cookie, you would write Oreo. Instead of writing flower, you would write rose. So you're really telling your reader what they should be expecting and what they're seeing. So the beautiful colors, the vibrant rainbows, the dazzling blues and greens and the sky, you know what I mean? So if you wanted to explore that more, that's an option. I really appreciated how you kind of worked through this scene and added some of her thoughts and what would be racing through her mind at this time. Those really helped me as a reader paint a good picture of Gabby. Another thing I wanted to talk about were some transition words. So I have the link in there. Let me just bring this box up. There we go. And this just sends you to a page about transition words. It says they are essential. They connect our ideas, but they also show when there's kind of a change. So maybe a change between when she's thinking about her mom and when the panic happens. But anyways, I really like this page specifically because it breaks down. If you're trying to look for words about agreement, there's some. If your new idea is going to contradict what you were just talking about, there's some other ones. If you're talking about cause or condition or purpose. And so it really just gives you a whole big list to avoid those same ones over and over and over again. And you did not use them over and over again, but I find myself doing that. And so it's always nice to have a list of, oh, these are ones that are kind of similar. Maybe I could try out one of these instead. And there's a lot of them on there to choose from. And so I don't want you to think that you need to overload them with transition words, but I think just sprinkling a few more in there might help your reader kind of keep track with where they are and just refocus them. So yeah, let me just pop back over to this one. I'll go to your second piece. There we go. Okay. I really appreciate both of your pieces. They really are so wonderful to read, so thank you. I just wanted to kind of walk you through a couple other things. This was one from last week. I said, how can you describe his basement? And so right here you did, and that was very helpful for me as the reader because I was able to say, oh, like his family really does care about him. They're giving him things to make it feel as comfortable as he can in this situation. That's just kind of just a hard situation all around. And so that helped me form ideas about the character of our main protagonist, Dylan, and also his family, because even though we see a little of them, we don't see a lot of them. But though that sentence alone tells me a lot. That was from last time. And right here you added how he wants to get out of the house and see those things for himself, but he knows that he can't. And so he kind of is living vicariously through his sister. And so I added in here, it really helps me again understand that he's not angry with his sister, that she gets to go out. He's not frustrated with her. He just wishes that he could also share in those experiences. And that also gives me more into the characterization of the family and Dylan. And then right here, this was just a spot where if you were looking to maybe add a little more, I could see this being beneficial to adding to the overall story. When Dylan's getting transported from his house to where the king is, this could be an interesting opportunity to explore the setting. What time of day? I think it's in the morning actually, so that, never mind. Where is it that this, like, describe this kind of interesting fictional world where Dylan is. In my head, I think back to Hunger Games. I don't know if you've ever read it or seen the movies, but when Katniss is on that train to the Capitol, she sees so many different things, and I remember reading that, and it just starts to paint this picture of what it's really like to live in this world. And so when I was reading that, I started to kind of make that connection there, and I think that might be beneficial if you wanted to explore that a little further, but that's totally up to you. And then I think that is it. I really appreciated the revisions you made. I can tell that you worked really hard on them, and I think overall they really added to the stories. So yeah, so those are kind of some options to look at for your narratives. And just so you don't forget, this little way to resolve comments from previous weeks. So I hope you have a nice day off tomorrow, or on the 12th, and I will see you next week. Bye.